Well, Scott, it's been 11 years, but Diablo 4 is finally here. And well, you know what? I think they might have nailed it, man. I know this one's probably being introduced with a little bit of controversy from the general gaming community, but overall, my experience with Diablo 4 has been awesome. You're jumping into the Diablo series for the first time. I'm a little more of a seasoned vet. It's been a while since I played the first or second one. I played a ton of 3, finished that one out, and I have been looking forward to this one for quite a while. But your experience is what I think a lot of people are going to be interested in. What did it feel like jumping in Diablo 4 for the first time?
Well, at first I was a little intimidated because everybody loves Diablo, and I've, of course, been aware of the series since Diablo 2 as a kid, but the thing is, I never actually played those games, so again, intimidating. I've seen a lot of 2 played, I've seen a bit of 3 played, so I kind of know what I'm getting into here. An action RPG, dungeon crawler. I'm not sure if dungeon crawler is a scientific term, but action RPG fits just well, and this is a genre that I'm also not extremely familiar with. So I am kind of twice a noob here, but getting into it, I thought this is a lot more welcoming than I was expecting. And there's a lot of long game kind of planning that I can do, and so even though I'm not super at the end of the game, I'm not an expert, I can still have fun playing with the little stats that I can see. I can plan a character, and of course I went for the Necromage.
I made a Necromancer as well, but the 5 character classes here, I think, offer something for everybody because each character class is unique because depending on where you are at in the leveling kind of experience with each character, they do unlock specific features just for that class. So that's something I really like. It allows you to kind of tool the playthrough depending on how you want to play the game, whether you're a barbarian that likes to get right in the middle of things, or maybe you want to play the new class of the rogue and play with your bow and arrow kind of from a distance, or get in there and deal some devastating damage, because I've seen what those characters can do and it's unbelievable. I've actually had the most fun playing as the druid. I think that character is just the way I like to play the game. I like to be able to do a little bit of magic, but also be strong enough to kind of get into the fray. And the way they presented that is I can turn myself into a giant bear basically whenever I want to. That's pretty awesome. And a wolf, if you really want to do that too. That's why the druid kind of drew me in, and that's why I liked it. The campaign is presented in a way that just the story was told well. I think there's some plot holes along the way, but for the most part, I've enjoyed the campaign and the story with the characters you've been introduced to. It gets you all over the map. I believe Sanctuary is probably one of the best looking environments in a Diablo game that they've ever had. So I've really enjoyed just kind of traveling around this open world, whereas in Diablo 3 you were kind of stuck more in this A to B path, where now I get to choose what I want to do. And let me tell you, it's taken me on a lot more side quests than I've expected, but I have enjoyed the campaign up to this point.
I'm not certain if the story has ever really been the driving factor for Diablo. Some of the characters certainly are cool, but I was really ignoring a lot of the story, a lot of the narrative delivered to me, skipping cutscenes and that kind of thing. A bit of a lazy gamer move on my part, but what really did drive me to play this and keep coming back was the kind of classic RPG clearing the map off. I just have to kill every single submission. I have to go through from left to right and just clear each map, and that's something that'll keep you going for a very long time, because not only is the story seemingly going on, there's a huge amount of side content, and when you roll through the end of the story, I'm pretty certain you're supposed to level it up and do it again. So the game is quite possibly endless, especially given the idea that we might get some DLC, or it's quite assured we'll get some DLC later on down the road, and that'll just maybe even make the map a little bigger. It's hard to say what I'd even want out of DLC because the game is so expansive to my eyes right now. But I did have an issue with going through all these, trying to clear off all these dungeons by myself was not exactly the suggested way of playing. Being the Necromancer, I can summon a whole skeleton squad and roll through, but I was lacking a lot of that solo ability. Luckily, this is kind of an online server-based, you say, but it's not an MMO, but you can find a lot of these people online. You can kind of hang around with them, send party invites, trade, that kind of thing, but I was able to kind of find a pocket of guys and just maneuver through the map, clear off world stages, events that were happening, and had a lot of fun that way. And I think it's really cool that we can actually party up, even if I don't have a recurrent friends list.
Yeah, they've done a good job at delivering a casual gaming experience here and also a hardcore gaming experience, because there are those hardcore Diablo fans that don't play this one for the story, they play for the end game. And let me tell you, this end game is almost endless. Like you said, there's a lot of different world tiers you go through, different capstone dungeons that you unlock to get new gear, and you just kind of keep doing that over and over till you get to level 100. And let me tell you, that is going to be a grind for most players. That might not be something the casual Diablo players necessarily interested in, but I like the fact that Blizzard has offered these two kind of options in the game where if you beat the campaign, you can go in and start a new character and just skip the campaign completely and just start doing some of these extra world tier dungeons and get that legendary loot. So there's ways to kind of advance yourself through in new characters. You don't have to do that whole grind all over again, which I really do appreciate. We are going to be getting updates. They haven't told us when or how many or what to expect, but I feel like as a gamer, we should expect a few, updates here and there. I had a few issues early on when this game first launched. I had some crashes that caused some stuff that just made me wanted to shut the game off for a little bit. But since then, I haven't had any issues. There's been a few updates. There's been, I think, 7 or 8 kind of hot fixes so far for the game, which is nice to see. They're all over it. They are trying to fix some of the issues that are there. So that makes me think that there is some DLC coming down the tubes at some point for us here, which I think will be what keeps the player base involved. It's just a matter of how often we're going to get it. Is it going to be enough? And that's, the biggest mystery with a lot of these types of games. But that being said, my experience with Diablo 4 has been awesome. I think personally, it's been my favorite Diablo game that I've played. It might not be everybody's, but it certainly is mine.
It's certainly mine as well. A great intro point to the whole story, the whole IP as a general, and this one is a little more forgiving. At least from the legends I've heard of old, I can get into this one and actually enjoy it, and I'm still a noob, so I have to appreciate that they've left me a lifeboat to get on, and I really enjoy that. There's a huge amount of the grind, like you mentioned, a whole lot of leveling yourself, gear, things that I thought were going to confuse or annoy me. But I find that's not really the issue at all. You can mark everything junk. You can sell it all really easily. You can warp back to the city, and then not only that, but take that portal back to your original location. So it really takes away any of this kind of annoyance that would happen from being over-encumbered. And really, a lot of the worries I had just turned out to not be that worrisome at all.
Well, Scott, I think that pretty much sums it up for our experience with Diablo 4. If you've got to score this one out of 10, what are you going to give it?
I am totally a noob here, but I can appreciate what I'm seeing, even though I haven't quite probed all of the dark corners of it yet. This is an 8 out of 10. I believe this is a really good jumping on point. If you're new to the whole series like I was, I think this is the time to get on.
Yeah, I agree with you there. I think the presentation of this game was spot on, minus some of the launch issues. We're well past that now, and I think the general player base is really going to enjoy this game. It does tend to be a little bit pricey if you want to get some of the higher versions of the game into the deluxe and kind of things like that, but this is still attainable for most players, and honestly, I had a blast playing this, Scott. I'm going to jump back in probably right after this review. I'm giving this one an 8.5.